If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed, and y'all shall lead them.
Buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener, yes, dear listener.
DJ JLB in the house today.
Yes.
We have XeRock, Xerome. And
okay.
That's it.
Do we have any thingamajiggies for them as far as preview or anything like that?
Not that I'm seeing.
All right, XeRock Xerome by the big homie JLB, his first ever.
Whoa, I'm sorry.
DJ stream.
XeRock is a band that was born inside a parents' association of my town called Xerome, which provides education and support to mentally disabled kids and adults. That's cool. Trying to get them integrated into society. The band included several persons with diverse mental and physical disabilities, and they released 3 records. Oh wow, the band included several persons with diverse mental and physical disabilities. Wow, that's a first.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Really
good.
good.
Emotional. That's very good. And they released 3 records between 2003 and 2019. XeRock doesn't exist anymore due to some inside conflicts, but I wanted to show them to the world because they were more an integration and struggle tool than a band. Taking some people nobody believes in and fully immersing them inside of society by playing shows and singing about their reality, opening minds in short. Even if in a global picture what they changed was almost nothing, on a local and individual level, one can't even start to understand how much the band did for those guys. There were and are other bands like this that are out there, such as Punk Rockers PKN. Can you read that?
Where?
Right here.
Parody Kirklin Nimplavat.
Yeah. From Finland, or Delta 7. Shoot. No. Sorry. And Delta 7, and for me, they all represent the same fight for equality and a different understanding of music and its power. I believe in music as a tool for social change, and that's why this is here instead of the Order of Apollyon's Trident of Flesh, my first choice for the second song on this stream. The song I picked is called Xerome, and it's a live performance of an anthem that they composed for their school. Their lyrics were in Galician, the language of my land, but I'd like more a review of the band itself and the idea behind it than a lyrical one.
Okay. I got you, my man. Let us check it out. Xerome by XeRock. Let's do it. Drummer's almost blind. He goes around in the wheelchair. I'm gonna restart this.
Yeah, if you can turn the computer, because I really want to see.
This thing is being so childish. Why are you being like this, you dumb video?
What if you exit out?
There we go. I think we're in good shape. We got it. We got it. All right, guys. Here we go. Xerome.
Comenzamos en 207, ahora somos 120. Comenzamos en 207, ahora somos 120. Dentro a noite de non paramos de loitar. Dentro a noite de non paramos de loitar. Chea de buratos, patapalos con esmero. Casachea de buratos, patapalos con esmero. Dentro a noite enteo non paramos de guerrear. Dentro a noite enteo non paramos de guerrear. Porque un Xerome senza animo inferno io dan. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Porque un Xerome senza animo inferno io dan. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Moito por viaxar, queda moito por andar, queda moito que queimar, queda moito que lidiar. Dentro a noite enteo non paramos de loitar. Dentro a noite enteo non paramos de loitar. Porque un Xerome senza animo inferno io dan. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Porque un Xerome senza animo inferno io dan. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Porque un Xerome senza animo inferno io dan. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. Sanchez, Sanchez, Xerome. 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 Xerome.
Wow. That guitarist was helping out that drummer with his cues throughout the song. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there was a couple times when he was helping the kid out with his cues.
Some people aren't clear on when their cues are.
Yeah, but that was
I'm not good with my cues on the song.
That was such a touching video to watch because although the rhythm section was extremely simple, the fact that they were able to stay, they were pretty much on pace. They didn't miss pace, and even they let the girl with the Down syndrome play the tambourine. I remember one time.
Was she wearing slippers?
Yeah, I think so. Like at that house church thing you were in, and there were those people. You know, I was on a trip, but there were those folks in the street, and all the lady had was a tambourine, and you know, it was. That was one of the coolest. I mean, I wasn't able to be there, but you know, you were talking about how she had the tambourine, and you know, these are street people that people generally,
yeah.
You know, they generally discounted them, and they had found this church that was kind of grimy, grungy, and so like they felt kind of welcome to do a bunch of, you know.
And she brought her own instrument.
Yeah, she brought a little tambourine. She was doing her thing.
She went to town with it.
Yeah, man, like. You know, obviously, you know, I've talked about this a lot. I posted this in, I forgot where it was, on the MA stream where, you know, I talked about there's another pretty much state that pretty much rid itself of Down syndrome by, you know, the eugenic application of abortion. And look, I understand the arguments, blah, 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 you know, my body stuff. Like, that's not really what I want to focus on. Like, everybody knows I can fight that war. That's not really the emphasis to me. The emphasis to me about that is just, we just have these assumptions that because these people have a genetic defect or whatever, that they're not valuable to
and you just
society.
underestimate a whole group of people. And, like, I mean... She's part of this band. I mean, I don't know. I just think... I think that...
Yeah, Denmark. Denmark has killed almost everybody with Down syndrome. So you've got Greenland and Denmark again. But, like, you know, obviously that's the most extreme version of societal rejection for those people. But, like, all of us, to a degree, I think... you know, can fall victim to this if we're not careful. You know, especially... I was watching a show a couple days ago, and they had one of the characters was in a wheelchair, but they didn't emphasize that he was in a wheelchair. They just had him in a wheelchair. And then a couple days later, I saw a guy in a wheelchair, you know, in Walmart or whatever, and he was... He didn't think anybody was watching. I was watching him, and he was like gliding down the parking lot of Walmart. He would like spin it. He was doing all these tricks or whatever, getting to his car or whatever. And I was just like, it was obviously you feel kind of weird, like watching, like you're just watching a person, and he obviously doesn't think anybody's watching him. But I was so fascinated with this guy because I thought to myself, well, if I was in a wheelchair, I'd probably be saying dumb shit like, just kill me or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's found a way to, like, you could tell, like, he was making the best of it. He wasn't feeling sorry for himself, like, you know, and I just thought to myself about how our society treats, like, disabled people or people that are not perfect, genetically perfect. And, you know, it's just this sort of, like, it's either the extreme on one side, which is, you know, like, these guys are horrible for the gene pool, we need to get rid of them. Like, that, to me, that's very extreme. And the other side is this sort of, like, uncomfortable condescension, like, pat him on the head, but I want to get out of here as soon as possible because this makes me uncomfortable. And, you know, there's not a lot of times when disabled people get centered. Yeah. You know, but, you know, statistically, there are more disabled people than black people, or disabled people than LGBT people, or whatever. But if you look at TV, we get represented, LGBT people get represented, but you don't really see disabled people get represented as just people. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to see this band and to see them that, like, the singer kind of, I don't know what his issue was or whatever, but to see him to be able to, like, he was clearly, like, the highest talent in the band. And he was kind of like the glue. But then you had the guitarist.
I don't know. The singer was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, that's a singer. The singer was playing the guitar, too.
Oh. I thought Who was the guy with the curly hair? You didn't see his face. I thought that was a guitarist. Was that a bassist?
The guy with the curly hair?
Yeah, long curly hair. We didn't see his face.
The one that was standing by the drummer?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw his face the entire video.
Well, I didn't really see his face much when I was looking at it.
Yeah, but that
guy. Which one are you saying has the highest talent?
Well, the singer was able to keep the rhythm.
Oh, yeah,
he was
yeah,
able to
okay,
keep
yeah.
tone.
Yeah,
he was able to
singer.
keep pace. He had the
Yeah.
more complex structures. But it was fascinating watching the drummer and the guitarist. And it's funny because JLB
so they did have two guitarists.
Had beef with them all through high school or school, Catholic school or whatever it was. But he was stationed right by the drummer, and there were a couple of times when he was either hitting the hi-hat or helping the guy see, because the drummer is practically blind and in a wheelchair himself. So think about how amazing that is, that drummer, the limited visual field that he has to be able to do that. And some of it, like I always say, is like, can you just feel the music? Stop looking at my guitar. Like, that's one of the things, like, you're looking at the guitar that this guy can't see.
Right.
So he's got to rely on the beat and all the, like, he can see, but, like, not enough to where he would be able to catch cues from anybody. He's got to get it from the ear gate, and he pretty much held the beat perfectly. And there were a couple times when the talented one there is Victor, the long-haired one. Okay, so that was the guy that he had beef with all through high school. It's just funny to me, like, or Catholic school, whatever it was. That relationship I really liked, because to me it was like, that's exactly the way it should be. Like, he was playing guitar and he was doing his thing. He was really good, doing the solo or whatever. And then the other guy's playing the drums, and then he went in there to help every once in a while, but only because it was necessary due to the limitations. And then he just kept playing. Like, there was no condescension. There was a partnership between those two that was very precious to me. Like, they had this partnership, and it wasn't like, oh, you're disabled, I feel bad for you. It was just like, hey man, practically speaking, you're gonna need this cue, you're gonna need this cue. Then at the end, we wanted to come to a hard stop with the cymbal, so the guitarist did that. I just thought it was great. I thought, to me, I'm like, okay, that's the balance. Like, we're not gonna condescend you. I mean, we're not gonna eliminate you from the gene pool, because there are things that people, but again, this comes from this sort of almost hyper-capitalist mindset, to where if you're not a person who can contribute, in the sort of monetary sense, where we're actually going to have to spend money on you instead of you're generating capital from one of these businesses, get a job, which is basically make the guy at the top of the pile rich or whatever, but hey, at least we don't have to worry about exhausting our resources on you. Like, that's a very, very narrow way of looking at what else a human being can contribute to your society. And it's like, you can look at it as, oh, we have to extend societal resources to support this person. Or you can look at it like, this person is so valuable that they're worth the price of admission. Well, that's a completely different way of looking at things. But if you look at human beings as, what can you contribute to me materially? And if you can't contribute something materially, if you actually result in me divesting some of my material for you, then you're not valuable. And it doesn't take into account all the, but what about the metaphysical benefits that these people bring to us? What about the lessons that they teach us? What about, there are other aspects to what contribution is. And the way I look at it is, Downs and the rest of those folks they're not a drain on society. They are the most valuable elements in our society, and that's why we have to pay the price for their admission. Where people like me and you, we're just, whatever. So you meet me, and that's cool. But there are some people who are so precious that there's a price for admission, that you can't just get a blessing like that for free. And if we looked at people that way, that changes everything. But currently, the way that we look at people, it's almost this, everybody says, like, on the ground level, like, they're not social Darwinists, like, you apply social Darwinism. And again, I'm not talking about atheism or theism here, because you can have theistic social Darwinists. You had them a lot in the 20s. that were theistic,
Yeah.
you know, Christians, but they were also Darwinistic in their understanding of how you apply society, and that spilled over to the race disabled people. So this is not ooh, atheism is bad. I'm just saying a lot of us are social Darwinists, even though we will not come out and use the language in this naked way, like, yeah, get rid of all these people. They're a drain on the G. But internally, a lot of us are social Darwinists, and we'd rather not have those folks around. And so I think bands like this and music like this kind of forces you to confront your own, not even prejudices, but just wrong-headed views on what makes a person valuable. Mm-hmm. Because what you think that value structure is how you're going to go and treat that person.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, is that a lot of times, we, you know, kind of like what the song was, we believe what we want to. You know, we hear what we want to hear. We believe what we want to believe. And I think, like, a lot of us are walking around undiagnosed with our issues. And because our issues can slide under the radar, or so we think, because I think that other people can see our issues where they're like, yo, that's a problem, right. You know, where 100%. We might just think, you know, we've acclimated to ours and we're basically functioning alcoholics, so to speak, with our disabilities and with our mental issues and trauma issues and everything. And I think that when you see, I think that there is something to be said about a society that would eliminate people in that situation. I think that says something about us as a whole. And it doesn't say a good thing. I mean, because I think you're right. I think that there are things to be learned and things to see. Like, there are things within the world, like simpler things that we can learn so much from, but a lot of times, like, we're obsessed with complexity. And so when you see a person that doesn't have the level of complexity, or that you can't understand their level of complexity, then you automatically assume that there's a simplicity there, and that, you know, like, we're seeing that they're keeping rhythm, and they were, you know, who knows the extent. And I think that there's so much that can be learned, and I think if you spend any amount of time around people with disabilities, and I've spent time around I'm having a little bit of a hard time with this because I found out, I just didn't tell you, but you remember how that guy that I dated in high school, he had a mentally handicapped brother?
Yeah. He
passed away. So that was kind of, I just found that out like a day ago. And that was just sad to hear. But anyway, like, he, you know, I think it's really sad that people intentionally eliminate them. And, you know, if you spend any time just watching shorts or YouTube videos of, you know, especially people with Down syndrome and the way that they are, like, there's so much that can be learned about, like, so I had this dream last night, and I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but so I was having this experience, and I don't know, maybe it's an interesting dream. Are people interested in dreams? I don't know. So there was this guy, we were all in this water, and the water was, like, kind of dark, but there was, like, this ledge that kept you in, so you weren't gonna, like, get sucked out into the deep, dark ocean. And there was this guy, and he put this, like, mask over his head, and he was basically going to experience his greatest fears because he wanted to overcome them. And so when he put the mask on, I heard, like, this gonging, like, gong, like it was a ritual thing. And then he started, like, kind of, like, freaking out a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder what his fear is. But we were all in the water, and as soon as the gonging stopped, the mask popped off his head, and it went on my head, and I got sucked into the ocean, like, beyond that guardrail, and I got sucked down, and I was getting pulled and dragged down to the bottom, and it was getting darker and darker, and I was getting more alone, and the water was just collapsing over me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this, I was probably gonna do it because I wanted to overcome my fears, but I wasn't really given a choice because all of a sudden it was just thrown on me. So as I'm getting sucked down and the water's closing over me and it's getting darker, my two fears was the claustrophobia of being trapped and the fear of being completely separated away from people. And I knew I had gone too deep for you to find me. So I'm like, there's no, you can't dive down and find somebody in the friggin' ocean of black. So then I was like, I'm alone. And I was like, I'm completely alone. And then my own words were echoing inside of my head. And then right after that, I was like, no, I'm not alone. And I was like, I just remembered like being a child and being like very scared in certain situations and like having that initial thought where I was like, I'm alone and there's no one to protect me. But then following that, feeling like, no, God is here with me, and like knowing that God was there with me. And so that's what happened in my dream. I was like, no, I'm not alone. I'm with God and God is with me. And there's like a verse in the Bible. I'm sorry, I'm crying so much. Maybe it's because I'm pregnant. There's a verse in the Bible that talks about basically, I think it's like Job when he was like getting dragged down to the bottom and like it said like seaweed is like wrapping around his head and he was having a really rough time. And then also coupled with, I think it was David's words where he said, if I, like he's listing off all these places, if I go to this really dark place, if I go to the depths of the grave, if I go here, but he says, even there, you will find me. And so like in my dream, I was like, oh my gosh, like God is here with me. Like those are promises that we have, that he doesn't leave us and that there's no like darkness that God, the light of God doesn't overcome. And then as soon as I was done thinking that, I got sucked back up and I bursted out of the water and my sister was there and she was like, I just had the craziest experience. I was like, I just had the craziest experience. And then when I got sucked down, like my experiences underwater coupled with her experiences above water, and then those experiences like made it together to like they intersected. And so I was thinking about how humanity, we all have lines that intersect, and when we kill whole groups of people, we cut off whole lines of intersections where we can learn something from somebody else and we can see something from somebody else. And like I learned something deep about God when I was deep in that water, and my sister was above water learning something about God. And then we were able to talk about how our lines intersected over the same, like you might find that like maybe God like saves somebody from this horrible situation and he saves somebody else from their horrible situation. Or maybe that's a bad example. I don't know. But you learn something from your experience and they learn something from their experience, and then you share those experiences and you get a broader understanding, because we as individuals cannot experience all of God. He's too big. And so we need to understand the experiences of other people to get a broader picture of him. And so like when I'm hearing about like these people and I'm seeing them playing and I'm seeing like, I'm like, wow, like how many experiences, because like I know that as far as like complexity, this song was not like the most complex song that we've ever seen. But as far as like what we all felt, I think internally, I mean, if you have a heart, like there was movement there and you're watching them and it was just like, it was an experience to be a part of this. And they shared that with us. And so I don't know, just the idea that we would eliminate. And I think that a lot of times we eliminate because of our fear. And I think that people are afraid, like, just like when you see somebody that has, different issues, like I used to try to like smile and say hi. Like full disclosure, when I go to the store, I don't smile and say hi to friggin' anybody. I basically ignore everybody and focus on what I have to do. So when I ignore somebody in a wheelchair, I'm treating them the same way I would treat everybody. But I do know that there's a different level of uncomfortableness if you make eye contact with somebody that has some sort of a disability, because like sometimes I don't know what to do, like say hi, like you don't want to make it look like, because you're always told as a child, don't stare, stop staring. Mm-hmm. But I actually had seen this thing where they were talking about like everybody's telling their kids don't stare, and so people with disabilities land basically in this bubble where the entire world acts like they don't exist. And so it's important, which that not everybody's getting that experience. So it's important, when you see somebody that has, to look at them in their eyes and say hello. And again, like, man, I'm making a really long story out of this. One time, like I used this cream on my face and it like made my eye like so shut both my eyes ended up closing almost completely. It was disastrous, and I still had to go to the store, and nobody would look at me. People would ignore me. I was not treated right, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, some people, this is their lived experience. This is just an event for me. Like, but people were avoiding me big time. And so if you had to live your whole life with people like avoiding you and not looking you in the face and not like speaking to you and like being, I don't know, I just think that that's a really cold world, and I don't think that we should put ourselves in front of other people like that. Like, you might feel a little uncomfortable. Sometimes I feel uncomfortable with it, but I just look and I say, hello, you know, or sometimes they'll start talking. Like, I was like bummed out because there was a little kid in a wheelchair, and I had the two boys, and they were in one of those little carts that looks like a car when you're at the grocery store. And we were leaving, and the little boy was saying, hi, and I was like, oh, maybe Orion will say hi back. So I pulled up his little cart to him, and Orion was like, he leaned back as far as he could in the car, and I'm like, you want to say hi? And the little kid was saying hi to him, and neither one of the boys would say hi. I was like, ah. And then I was like, well, have a good day, you know, I said to the little kid, and then I started pushing him away. We get like 10 feet away, the little handicapped kid is getting put into his van. Orion turns around, hey, hi, raise a hi. I'm like, couldn't have done it 2 minutes ago. But anyway.
The song is a 10 for me.
It's an 11 for me.
It's an 11 for Sori. I'll make it 11. It's a good song. Shout out to all those people.
Yep.
And shout out to DJ JLB. Coming on strong. But we got 2 more songs left there, listener. Shout out to all my people in the world that are different. Just say it that way. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.